Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today is day, I don't remember, of isolation thanks to Corona. So I thought I would come back online and talk about some really simple do's and don'ts of singing and taking care of your voice. I want you to know I'm not necessarily like the supreme authority on this. You know, it works for me. It's helped me over the years, but everybody is different. So by all means, do what works for you. Don't take this as like the singing holy Bible. It's my Bible. It works for me. I love it, like I said, but everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different things that work for their voices, for their bodies. So whatever that may be, go for it. No hate. Like, I'm not here to be like, you have to do this. If you don't do this, it's wrong. It's not. This is what I do. It works. So I'm going to talk to you about my do's and don'ts. I set it up in a really cool list in my book here, because I am organized like that. So, first things first, sleeping enough, properly, the correct times of day. Really, really important to be well rested and invigorated for singing. On the flip side of that, I don't like to sing too early in the morning. Like, I really need to get myself into the zone. So even if I've slept well, this is sort of on the don't side. I don't necessarily want to start singing and start doing my music stuff in the first half hour of me waking up. I usually want to give it a couple of hours just so I can get into my like zone, start my day, have a coffee, eat my breakfast, that kind of thing. Really important. With that being said, I did mention coffee. I don't drink a ton of it, or at least I try not to. I was working at Starbucks for a while, so it was kind of unavoidable. I do really love tea though. It's really great to drink warm beverages to keep your voice hydrated. Also, warm things kind of loosen up muscles, as we've talked about in my previous videos. It's exactly what your voice is a muscle. It's your diaphragm, your throat muscles, your larynx, all of those things, vocal folds. They're muscles at the end of the day. So warm things to stretch them out and that kind of thing. Tea is great, and again, with that, we don't necessarily want to overdo caffeine. So caffeine raises your heart rate, it's a diuretic, it makes you feel kind of like, alert and ready to go. But it also constricts blood vessels, which we don't necessarily want when we're singing because we want everything to be nice and loose. So constricted is the opposite of that. So try not to overdo the coffee. 1, 2, 3 cups a day though, perfectly fine. Just everything within moderation, I want to say. With all of that, staying hydrated in general, drink a ton of water. Fruit juices, all that kind of thing, replenish electrolytes, all that is wonderful. Just caffeine, not necessarily your friend. Things that I like to add to my water or things like that, tea. Lemon is really great. It's great for flavor. I just love lemon in general. I find it's very invigorating. Clearing the nose and the sinuses. If you're a little bit congested, lemon is great. Honey is fantastic. It's very soothing on the throat. It's also antibacterial to a certain extent, so it'll help clear out any bacteria or whatever might be in the back of your throat, help you sing, things like that. What I also like to do is if I'm feeling a little bit of a cold or some scratchiness in my throat coming on, I'll take a couple of drops of oil of oregano. So wild oregano oil is super spicy, super hot, but it's got antiviral, antibacterial properties as well, so it almost like halts any infection that you might have in its tracks. Again, like I'm not a doctor, but I've been finding that it's really worked for me. Anytime that I feel like I have a little bit of a cold coming on, I'll take a couple of drops, and if it doesn't stop the cold, it'll definitely lessen my symptoms, which is also really good. So I do a lot of that. With that, I mentioned that oil of oregano is pretty spicy. Couple of drops here and there, especially if you dilute it with some water, isn't going to kill you. But one thing that I do like to avoid as a vocalist, especially leading up to any lessons or gigs, whatever it may be, I do tend to avoid super spicy food during those times. I love spicy food, it's great, but it does cause a little bit of irritation in your throat, so we don't necessarily want that. We want to try to stay away from those kind of inflammatory surface foods, spicy things, greasy things. Super salty stuff. Salt dries you right out. The one thing that I've actually found is really beneficial for my singing voice, and I didn't actually find out about this until, I want to say when I started my degree. I'm lactose intolerant. Funny story. I discovered that as I was turning about 19, 20, when I was really getting into my singing stuff. I would notice that as I would drink a lot of dairy or eat a lot of cheese, whatever it may be, milk in my tea or my coffee, I had a lot of phlegm and I had a lot of burping, a lot of gas, and it wasn't helping my voice in the slightest. Obviously, if you can imagine singing when you're burping and you're not feeling too great in the stomach area, it's not ideal. So one thing that's been very beneficial for my singing and my health in general is cutting back on dairy. I don't want to say cut it out completely because like that's no fun at all. Like I said in the very beginning, everything in moderation. I'm not telling anybody for any reason to cut out anything from your diet unless you want to. For me, I don't eat a lot of dairy. It was pretty easy to cut back anyway. A lot of alternatives taste really, really good. So I've been doing a lot of that. So on the like do side, you can do this thing that we like to call diffusing. So you can diffuse essential oils, or you can steam yourself, which you can use a neti pot or even just a pot on top of the stove, and you can add essential oils to it. So that'll help to sort of invigorate you, calm you, depending on what the oil is. So I love lavender for relaxation. So at this moment, I have a reed diffuser with lavender essential oil in my studio right now, which is pretty cool. I also love eucalyptus for invigoration and also that sort of sinus clearing effect. Lemon oil and lemongrass are also great. So those are things that I like to do. Also really love CBD tinctures for pain and body relaxation. Marijuana is legal in Canada, which is really great. I don't smoke personally, but I love CBD, which is the non-psychoactive component of marijuana. There's THC and there's CBD. THC is what gets you high. CBD is what causes sort of the relaxation of the mind, things like that, and the pain relief. So I take a little bit of CBD. I have candies that I use, and I find that really helps with any like body pain or aches or anything like that, and also a little bit of like anxiety, any of that. I find the CBD really helps to get rid of that, which is very beneficial for my singing. I find if I'm nice and relaxed and pain-free, it's going to be a good voice day. So I mentioned that, yeah, CBD, relaxation, awesome. I don't smoke. I don't condone it for any of my students or anything like that. Obviously, if you're singing, you don't want to be smoking cigarettes or anything. Any smoke or anything hot like that we want to put in our throat is going to damage your throat. You know, there's carcinogens, there's a whole bunch of not fun, not nice chemicals in smoking and vaping. We don't want to do that. But on the other side of that, stepping away from smoking, don't do that. Also, another thing that I don't like to ingest necessarily is super greasy food. Just like dairy causes a lot of phlegm and buildup of things, I find greasy food does sort of a similar thing to me. Don't get me wrong, I love a good piece of fried chicken every once in a while, but try to cut back, and again, everything in moderation. So those are things that I like to do and not do when I'm singing. So if any of those things were helpful or you have any comments, you want to post those in the comments for me, that would be great. Anyway, have a great day, happy singing, and stay healthy. Bye.